welcome. This is a super important podcast about hair, question mark, featuring Ryan Teal and Stephen Adams as your co-hosts. Let's begin.
Starting. We're
awesome.
Live. Good morning, everybody. Well, wait, it's not
morning. It depends on when they're watching it. It could be the morning, I guess.
I have no idea what time it is, but welcome to, once again, what is our show, Ryan?
It's the super important podcast about hair.
Yeah, and I just got our website set up the other day, so it's not built completely, but we're going to try to get that up and running, and that is a super important podcast.com. Will be
well, what we should do is we should have like t-shirts made that are like a super important t-shirt.
we could we could totally do that. That would be super fun.
I'm actually going to have for my other thing, like just my Ryan Teal website that I'm building. I'm thinking about seeing if I could get weed grinders made with my face on it.
That's ridiculous. Absolutely. Ridiculous. How has your week been so far? I mean, it's only, what day is today? Tuesday. So you're always on the road. You're traveling a ton. You've been sharing inspiration all around. Where were you last, and how's your week been?
I had a pretty intense tour. So when we did our last podcast a couple of weeks back, I was in Wichita. I had left Oklahoma City, drove up to Wichita. That was not this Monday, but the Monday before last. And I spent a couple of days in Wichita, met some great salons there. It was really funny because I talked to a ton of people, and it was like everywhere I went. I went to a bar at one point, and I was just eating and whatever. And this woman's like, "So what do you do for a living?" I'm like, "I'm a hairdresser." And she's like, "Well, what's your name?" I'm like, "Ryan Teal." She's like, "I have been following you for like 3 years, and I just now went to beauty school. I'm so happy that you're in here." And it's fun doing that, but I wanted to eat my tacos. No, it was totally rad. I went and like visited the salon the next day. So I was in Wichita. I came home Thursday. I was off all day Thursday. Friday, I washed my clothes, and then I got back on the road Saturday, and I flew down to San Antonio. Taught a great class Sunday, a hands-on class Sunday, a hands-on class Monday. Tried to fly home yesterday, nothing but delays. Got stuck in Atlanta, Georgia, and had to end up spending the night in Atlanta. Like, got into my hotel room at 1:00 in the morning, and they're like, "So, how's your day been?" I'm like, "Do you really want to know how my day has been?" They're like, "Well, what's the matter?" I'm like, "I mean, I don't get to go home tonight. I got to stay here. That's what's the matter." I was just really crabby. And then I finally got home today at like 9:30, and I literally have slept all day. I'm actually, I have like, my nice shirt on and a t-shirt on. I'm actually in my pajamas right now because I haven't gotten out of my pajamas all day.
I'm sorry, and I'm keeping you up so much more.
No, it's perfect.
Man, it's traveling and being on the road as an educator sometimes is like super hard.
I love it.
I flew out on Sunday night. Flew from Minneapolis to Chicago, from Chicago to Detroit.
Okay.
Seems like a long ways to go just to get somewhere. And then I didn't get in until about midnight.
Really?
Yeah. And then by the time I got, set, organized, prepared for my class the next morning, it's like 1 a.m. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, I'm up at 6, 7 o'clock, heading over to the class, meeting all the people. We had a class about like 30 people, which is
nice.
Yeah.
Did you have help? Did you have support?
No.
Just by yourself, hands on.
It wasn't a hands-on class. So this one was a demo. So I went did a 3-hour demo. 3 hours of just like did 3 different haircuts, talked about a little bit about business, a little bit about retail sales, a lot about like the techniques and what we were doing. I created a shake, a bob, and
nice.
Like dry cutting too. So it was super fun. It was really engaging. But then as soon as I was done, I had to like cruise again, but I had 2 hours to wait before I really wanted to go to sit in the airport. And then so I did something really cool. I went, you know, Third Men Records.
Where is that?
Well, Nashville is where it's originally. This is the
Yeah, that looks familiar.
Third Man Records. It's now Jack White is I think owns it or bought it out. It was originally like recording some studios in Nashville, and Third Man Records is now based out of Detroit. And I happened to stumble upon the store and where they make all the vinyl.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Really cool. This is like one of the things I love about traveling. So I thought I'd show off my record collection that I just bought.
Okay.
I bought a couple because, you know, you have to, right?
Yeah.
I got the Flat Dual Jets.
Oh, that's a great album.
I lost this in a flood in my house, so I was like so excited. It's not open yet, but I can't wait. I wish it was an original press, but it's a reproduct, you know, the second thing. The Melvins, another one that I lost, which is another great album. I'm very excited to like go crazy and listen to.
Great album.
MC5.
Oh, kick out the jams.
Exactly.
That's also a reproduction though,
they're
right?
all reproductions. They're all within the last 2 to 3 years. Every single one. A Neil Young album.
Uh-huh.
We talked about that before.
Yeah.
And like a Neil Young fanatic. Got 2 more. The Electric Mud. So this is Muddy Waters.
Okay. Cool.
I have no idea what this is, but I'm really excited to pop it on and listen to it because I think that's important. And then just because I don't feel like I have enough of this, American Epics, just like a whole slew of everything from like Alabama Shakes to Jack White is on here, to Nas, to Taj Mahal, to
cool.
Yeah, just like just a crapload of different types and different styles of music, and I figured that should be just something fun to do when I have a little downtime to hang out.
I read an article once where Henry Rollins was talking about how he goes to the record store like once a week, and he looks at records like he does like his diet, and so he looks at the records that he already knows, or the ones that he's owned, or the ones that he already loves. He thinks of those as proteins. No. He thinks of those as carbs. And then new albums, he thinks of those as proteins. And so he always tries to have, he'll try and buy 1 carb to every 2 proteins.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm like, that's awesome. I love the way of looking at that.
That's a really cool way of looking at it because it's kind of like, yeah, it's like it'd be so great to have like an original album, you know, it's just kind of like buying that. It's like buying the 1965 Mustang.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't buy them all, but you can buy one here and there. But sometimes you got to buy the 2019 Mustang.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. I don't think I would be. But that's just my own thing. Yeah, so I think, you know, one of the cool things about traveling is to like, you get to run into some really cool stuff and you get to see some really great salons. Like the salon I was at was a great salon. You know, the distributor that brought me in did a really great job. They filled the class and it was really cool. It's just really great to see some really neat people that I've never seen before. So hopefully it was good enough that they'll keep doing that and keep bringing me in. You know, and that's, I mean, I'm sure you deal with the same because tell me a little bit about your scenario. Like you work for a distributor.
Yeah. So I don't sell anything.
Right.
I don't work for any manufacturer right now. My whole thing is I just sell relationships. So the sales rep will just say, hey, can I come in and, can we bring in Ryan to come in and do a demo? And then I go in and do a demo. And if they want to do business with us, they can have me back for a hands-on class later, and our whole theory is, it's a very like 1990s hairdressing theory where like, I remember like like going in salons that didn't carry Paul Mitchell and teaching Paul Mitchell classes.
Right.
And then all that dried up in the late 90s. It's that whole philosophy is like, we're just going to teach you how to cut hair. And if you love us, do business with us. If you don't love us, that's okay. At least you're still,
Right.
getting something.
And then, do you ever go into salons then that already work with that distributor?
Oh,
Kind
yeah.
of as a
Yeah.
build
And
relationship?
we'll give them a little extra. We may give them so my typical hands-on class, I have it down to 4 hours. I have a demo for 2 hours, and then I have a hands-on class for 4 hours. You learn 2 haircuts and a hands-on.
Yeah.
And then I have a couple of intensive hands-on classes where I have one of them that's a 8-hour day, thing that we split up into 2 classes. But that's usually for people that we do a lot of business with or really need some extra help. And then I've also been doing a little bit of coaching on the side too. So giving people advice and, how to work with their social media or how to become better platform artists or whatnot.
Right. Well, and I mean, realistically, what always happens is the minute that you are in a class or in front of somebody, you're already giving them advice and sharing some information, and it just becomes more and more and more. That's really cool. It's really interesting that you are able to do that through a distributor, not with a manufacturer, because it's usually not really that way. I think it's really cool. So you've kind of really forged your own career path.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I tried to work with this distributor for a while. I was working for the last company I used to work for. We'll call them the J. Beverly Hillbillies. And I was working for them, and I met this distributor, and I just loved this distributor so much. I thought that everybody that worked there was super cool. And so I just started asking him for a job, and he was like, "No, I don't know what I would do with you. What do you do?" I'm like, I'll be a sales rep." And he just started laughing at me. He's like, "Look at you. You wouldn't be able to sell soap." And I was like, well, maybe, I'll be a brand manager. He's like, no. And then he was like, well, why don't you just go, why don't you just do education? Just do independent education for me. He didn't want me to go to any product knowledge classes. He doesn't want me to go to any Davines classes or Evo classes or any of the companies that we work for, because he doesn't want me to be tainted by the marketing departments in those manufacturers.
Well, and also usually when you're stuck with one manufacturer, you're stuck with one manufacturer.
Exactly.
Industry to be able to go to and work with multiple manufacturers. At least it seems that way in the States. It seems like in Europe it's a little bit easier. I feel like some of the educators there have a little easier time of doing that, but it seems like here it's really challenging to do that.
It is, and I feel like it's really challenging because the manufacturer really wants to kind of mark their territory with you. But then on the other hand, I was saying it today in my Instagram live, not Instagram live, but my Instagram story that they want to piss all over you and mark their territory. But on the other hand, you're replaceable. So they don't have loyalty to you. You're supposed to have all the loyalty to them, but they don't have loyalty to you. Now, I'm making a brash generalization as well. I mean,
a little bit,
not all manufacturers, not all manufacturers that way.
Not all manufacturers are like that, and not all distributors are like that. But but there's a few that are very much like that.
I think that the majority is very much like that. I think the minority are the manufacturers and the distributors that do actually give, excuse my language, that actually give a fuck about the hairdresser and their artist. And I think that the ones that do are the ones that hairdressers need to support.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I think it's so important to be able to work with a manufacturer and or a distributor that's going to give you some flexibility.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge because I have to be, I'm in a very fortunate position because the company that I work with, Arojo, it's like Nick has been very flexible. If he doesn't have any work for me, he will let me work with other people. And I've worked with Mike Karg, and I've worked a couple other things independently. And he's totally fine with it as long as I communicate it to him. He doesn't want to hear about me doing stuff on the side, without communicating it. Just as long as I'm open and honest and we have an open, honest relationship, then it's like totally cool. I think that's pretty amazing.
I think so too. I think so too.
And I think that's one of the things that I really, really respect about working with them. So I have a question for you. Ready?
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
work in a lot of salons. Someone asked me this question earlier today, and it had to do with walkouts. You've also owned a salon, and having a walkout in a salon is so detrimental to a business. As a salon owner, over the years that I've worked worked as a salon owner and also as a stylist, I have probably personally been involved in about 4 or 5 walkouts. And I'll say, like, I've seen it. So, like, I've been the stylist in the company that has had major walkouts. In fact, I was at the last point kind of a person. I didn't walk out with people and go work with other people, but I kind of walked out at the same time.
Oh wow.
And then I've had 3 walkouts in my salon in 20 years where we've had large ex-Macetus, and it just like go, 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 go. So as a coach, as an inspiring educator, this is a hard one because someone asked me this because they're just encountering this for their first time. What do you tell them?
You know, it's part of the business. And, you know, I've had multiples. I've never participated in it because I only ever worked at one salon that wasn't mine for about 6 months. So 6 months after graduating from school, I already owned my own salon. And you know, I had walkouts, but sometimes I had like walkouts of like one person. So I mean, that's not a big deal. I have had large walkouts.
Yeah.
And you know what you tell them is that, you know, it's like a dog that bites. Okay, so I have a Cane Corso. So, you know, and my Cane Corso right now, she's 100 pounds. She's 1 year old at 100 pounds. She'll be about 200 pounds eventually when she's fully grown. This breed will bite. And every time you own a dog that will bite or can bite or has that nature to bite, if that dog bites, it's not the dog's fault. It's your fault. If you're having a walkout, it's like a dog biting. It is the nature of a salon, of a hairdresser to be, and that's what we love about this industry is they're passionate, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh no,
So,
the stylists are extremely passionate.
Extremely, and we get passionate about stupid shit. We get passionate about soap in bottles. You know, we get passionate, you know, I mean, that's ridiculous.
Or I get really stupidly passionate about, like, at the end of the night, I want the chairs turned a certain
Yes.
I mean, it's the dumbest thing ever, and I know it. But at the same time, like, I really love how it looks from the street.
Mm-hmm.
And
so the what we love about this community is what I love about my Corso. She might bite, right? She looks like she's going to bite. What?
you like the thrill of it, the risk.
Well, yeah. Well, and it's like, you know, she's my guard dog. She's my watchdog, and people aren't going to break into my house when she's here. You know.
Right.
Hairdressers are passionate. They care about everything. They love everything, and they'll get behind anything that they want to get behind. But if they walk out, whose fault is it? It's your fault. There is a reason that they walked out, and it's 100% your fault. Now, you need to figure out what you did and fix that. And a lot of times, all you did was switch manufacturers.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, there's a huge change. That could be easily part of it. It could be many, many things. I know, like, I can just speak from my experience, like, why I left I've left 2 salons. The first one I didn't leave because of a walkout. I left because I reached my maximum potential and I was recruited to move up to Minneapolis. But the second salon I left because the salon, or the ownership of the salon, lost its passion.
Yes.
Lost the drive and the energy that sparked me. They lost that leadership that drove me to want to be there. Does that make sense?
Oh,
And
totally.
I just kind of felt like I was just going. And now I fast forward and I look into my own couple walkouts. One walkout was because we did a build out and it was changing the salon and the way it was laying, and it was making it twice as big, and it was all brand new, and it was taking 3-4 times longer than they promised us. And so that created a rift. And so we ended up like, and during that process, we had one employee who was just like not the best like attitude. So we're like, hey, either you got to like cut it out or you got to leave. Well, she chose to leave. And because of that, then everyone else is like, well, she's leaving, I'm leaving. Boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom.
That happens.
But that was my fault too. I didn't like try to hone her in and keep her in. And then I have like the second walkout was a little bit, it's like I wasn't around as much. I was traveling more. I was teaching.
Yep.
So, and when I was there, I was busy behind the chair. And I was like so busy because what happened was I wasn't giving them the time and energy, and I wasn't re-sparking them. I wasn't like getting them excited about doing, like passionate things. Like you said, they're passionate people. They got to do passionate things, because we as hairdressers know that if we're always stuck behind the chair, it's just like doing the same thing over and over and over, even though it's not. It's a different person and different haircut, but it still feels the same and very repetitive after a while. And I feel what happens is when the leadership isn't there to remind them about the passion, then it starts to like dwindle, and then they start to go in a bad place, and then they start to look across the fence, and the grass always looks greener on the other side. So then they jump. And it kind of goes into the whole thing, like why right now there's so many independent contractors and so much, because it looks so much greener right now and it looks great. But realistically, and this is something that I've really focused on this last year, is even though I own on one side of my employee-based salon, I own on the other side an independent contracting salon. And I wanted to see what would happen. What I've realized is I really have to focus all of my energy on my employees so that they stay, because otherwise they would all go over to the other side. Mm-hmm. And from a business standpoint, I mean, it's about the same, but realistically, I won't make as much money if they go over to the contracting side. And it's not so much that I won't make as much money, the salon won't make as much money, which means that we can't hire assistants, which means that they can't do as much work, which means we can't hire a front desk, which means that they have to, it's like becomes a cycle. So it's really a catch-22. It's like really when you start to think about the values of it, what's important, it's all has some monetary value of some sort that you have to put into consideration.
Yeah. I agree, and I feel like I feel like what happens a lot too. I remember I was sitting in a bar one time. Actually, what's really funny is I was sitting in a bar one time with Robert, and it was at an airport. I think it was San Jose actually, and Irvin Rusk shows up, and we were talking. And Robert already had a salon, but I remember I was trying to open my salon at the time, and I remember him looking at me saying that not everybody needs to be a salon owner. And at the time I was like, well, screw you. I need to be a salon owner. I'm the best salon owner of all time. And, I used to do a lot of things for ego. I used to charge prices for ego. I used to, everything I did actually in my first, couple of salons, I did out of ego. Nowadays, ego needs to be completely out of your business. It needs to 100% be legitimacy. And I actually tomorrow I'm probably going to talk about like how to set your pricing, because some people want to have $100 haircut in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they're only paying $750 a month rent. They're in a crappy location, they're paying $750 a month rent, and they want a $100 haircut. Unless you're like 110% productive and you need to punch holes in your clientele, you need to be going at a pretty decent rate, not be as that expensive.
No.
You know, and it's like a lot of owners have a tendency to like, oh, we need assistance. And they don't need assistance because they're not busy. So they think that, oh, I can train the assistant or the apprentice. And yet they need the education as well. But they think that the more employees they have or the more apprentices they have, that's going to make them better. That happened to me. You know?
Interesting. Yeah, no, it's true. It's, I mean, the thing is like you as a salon owner, you want to like constantly grow and improve. You want to,
Mm-hmm.
because you're a businessman, a business person or businesswoman or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You, as a business person, you are always looking for growth and movement. And sometimes you have to take a look at yourself. If you're not busy, how is the rest of your team going to be busy?
Exactly.
And if, like, for myself, I'm at a point where I'm trying to dwindle down. It's like been really challenging. I'm trying to dwindle my time, and I have a couple of rock stars that I want to keep pushing. Like, they're booked so far in advance, and they do make so much money. It's like unbelievable. But now I want to teach them how to like be even busier and to be able to work, like really work with an assistant, just like a dentist who really doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Comes in, pokes around a little bit. The hygienist and the assistants do all of the work. So we really want to. Someone just asked me, why would you want more employees? Steve Ukes asked why would we want more employees if they're not productive? You don't want more employees if they're not productive.
Yeah.
Make sure the employees are productive. What we're saying is there are some salons that you were saying that there are some salons they just hire people even though the owner themselves are not busy.
Yeah, or the whole salon's not busy.
And you only want to hire when you are busy. I always look at it as you got to be 75 to 80% booked. When you hit 75 to 80% booked all the time, that's a good time to hire an assistant. Mm-hmm. When you're 75% to 80% booked, that's when you want to bump your prices up. And you keep doing that. But until you're doing that on a constant, 4-6 weeks out, don't do that. We want to make sure that you're really paying attention to like watching those numbers so you can really grow.
I used to do it based off of 3 months.
What was that? I
used to do it like if you're 75 to 80% off of 3 month average, then I would let you go ahead and either, I'd go ahead and let you raise your price.
Yeah, I think that's a really great opportunity. That's when you want to like look at it.
Because it's not ego driven at that point. Then it's just fact.
It's just, yeah, and it needs to be fact. Don't raise your prices until you are where you want to be.
Here's a good one that I got yesterday, and you might have heard this back in the 90s as well, because I heard this all the time, and I always heard it from manufacturers and distributors. Okay. Never, ever, ever discount your service. Discount the retail, never discount the service. Okay. I lately am like, you know what? BS. I'm going to discount my service because that doesn't cost me anything. Retail costs me. Retail sitting on my shelf costs me. That's 10 grand sitting on my shelf. I would rather discount me a little bit because that's not going to cost me much more. I've already paid for my chair.
It's like 22. Because no matter what, if the product is sitting on your shelf, you've already paid for it, and it's not making you any money.
Yep. Yeah.
So I get that part of it. Discounting your services. I mean, I think the reason people started saying that don't discount your services is because there used to be like, send me 3 people, I'll give you 1 free. Give your haircut free. It's like you constantly do pushing and just selling people, or like every other week, 20% off a color this week, 20% off of cuts this week, 30% off of, and like that kind of on a weekly basis, or always consistently always being on discount. That's bad. Every once in a while, like I have some really cool people that I like. Every once in a while I do trades with, the lady who my friend Christy who cleans my house. She cleans my house once a month. I do her hair once a month. It's a perfect trade. That's my discount.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if someone loses their job. Oh, you know what? You lost your job. You're looking for a job. Great. Just keep coming in. We'll just pay what you can. When you get back, catch me up. No big deal. That's the kind of discount I liked. Unsolicited discounts. With retail, I usually will discount retail over services, and I really do that to drive those retail sales, because I hate having dead money sit on my shelves. It's kind of like my color order. I love having my, you know, huge color bar full of color, but I want to see it dwindle.
Yeah, totally.
You know, I want to see it almost empty, because if it's almost empty, that means, or pretty close to empty, that means that we're actually like selling shit. And then we're like doing hair. Adam Federico says, "Oh shit, you two beasts."
Speaking of Adam Federico, dude, I saw today on Facebook that he's a yoga instructor. I was gonna comment on that, but like, you also like ice in your bourbon too.
Me, I ice my bourbon.
Well, I do too now, but it's a different story.
Well, I'm hoping that Adam, when he comes out, that we can all sit down and chat. So Adam, if you're still on, I hope you are hearing this, that we'll get you to be on here and talk a little bit about this stuff too.
Definitely. So
always laughing his ass off.
speaking of the discounting though, like, okay, so I've been very lucky the last 2 years. Me and my buddy Roy J, we cut an entire community of musicians that is this whole like alt country kind of thing. And I've told you that, like, you know, I've cut like, you know, Cuddy Jinks's hair a couple of times, and Whiskey Myers, and like the Whitey Morgan guys, and, you know, all that. I do those for free. And the way I look at it that way is, you know, I'm leveraging that free service that I gave to get the next one that's going to be bigger. And I stole that straight up from Gary Vee. Straight up. Give that service away, you know, and like a high-end service.
Yeah.
Take pictures of it, and then you know, then you go to like another magazine and be like, well, look what I did.
Well,
and then look what I did.
Exactly. And here's the thing. It's like, what's his name? Zito. Same thing. Like, I sat in a class and I was listening to him speak about it, and like, that's what they do, is they do a model day where they come in and they like do all their models for the next week that they're going to post, and they just bust it all out and they give those services away. The rest of the time they charge. They're not trying to like snap pictures of every single person. I think that's just brilliant to be able to do that. Utilize marketing. In our salon, what we do is we work a lot of times. Steve Kim is watching. Look out, Steve. What's up? So what we do a lot of times in the salon is, like, with the models that we work with, when I take their photos and we put them up on the walls and put them in the posters, then we utilize them as our, we give them that service, and we continue giving them that service for, like, while they're on the wall. It's like marketing. It's better than like paying it. Those are great kind of discounts. That's the kind of discount I think that people should do. Something that's actually going to give them more business. You don't want to just give discount to like Sally and Joe because they're sweet. You want to give Sally and Joe a discount because they're going to give you like 6 times more business.
Yes.